Hello, friends. So good to be with you today. I so much appreciate you joining me for this week's podcast on leadership. I want to talk to you about something today that I think we violate so many times. We try to look at our life. We want it to be successful. You do. You want your family to be successful. You want your business to be successful. You want every aspect of your life to flourish. You know you do. You get up in the mornings, you work hard, you watch your diet, you study, you invest your time, your talent, your energy. You're wanting success in your life. And you have to understand, though, that all of life operates off the principles of wisdom, of understanding. There are some things that you can do in life that will promote your life, and then there's some things that you can do in life that will sabotage the success of your life. And it's kind of like the law of gravity, the law of sowing and reaping. I mean, you reap what you sow. I mean, we all know that. You sow something, just even in the natural, you sow something. You don't plant apple seeds expecting to get an orange tree. You expect to receive from the thing that you put in the ground, that you sowed into the ground, that you watered, that you cared for, that you fed. That's the thing that produces in your life. And so we have to understand that there are principles like that of sowing and reaping that make the difference. Well, today I want to talk to you about another principle that is just like that, and it's the principle of being planted. Are you planted in your life? Are you somebody who has truly given yourself to the ground and you're planted? And from that, you're growing a root system that's going to come up and bear fruit. Or are you somebody who's kind of like, I'm a tree, all right, but I'm still in the back of the truck? You're so mobile that you never have an opportunity to put down roots. See, this is the thing that I'm talking to you about. Is not just some 30-day Roman candle that goes up and boom. I'm talking about something that is long-term success. Long-term success depends on you being planted. Now, I know that you can easily take this and just kind of blow it off, but please hear me for just a moment here. Being planted is important for longevity, for stability. It denotes intention, seasonal fruitfulness, predictability, being established. Those are things that are foundation words. Foundation for your business, a foundation for your career, a foundation for your family. I mean, you want something that's generational and not just a 30-day thing, something that your children and your grandchildren can build on. It's going to have to be as a result of the principle of being planted. I remember when I first moved to my present home, and this has been so many years ago. And, we lived here for a few years and we started building a house. And a friend from mine came from Oklahoma. They just came by to visit. And he said something that was really profound to me. Maybe you wouldn't think it was so much, but it really impacted me. He just kind of looked around. He stood and he looked kind of what we had, what we were doing. And, I could just tell he was contemplating. And he said, "Looks like you guys are going to homestead here." And he was waiting, or what felt like, he was waiting to hear my response. The key point is the fact that we all have to respond to that. You have to respond to that in your life, whether it be in your family, whether it be in your business, your church, or whatever the case is. And when you respond to that, there is a power that is released from you that is not going to be found anyplace else. And I couldn't shake it. What he had to say to me, it sounded weighty to me. It sounded like something that carried weight. In the ancient days, they had a generational mindset of their families to where they lived together, they worked together, they grew together. Their businesses was a family business. It wasn't something that, today we'll have somebody, a father will go out and he'll bust his hump scratching off the ground and going and building and erecting structures and building success and reputation and credibility. And then the son will come along, and instead of standing on his shoulders to build higher, he'll go off and say, "Nah, I don't want to do this. My dad did this. I ain't doing this." And they'll go out and scratch off the ground and try to start all over again. But that's not the way they've done it in the ancient times. It was a family business that grew and became an empire. See, that's the way it should be. But that comes from the term of being planted. And you have to ask yourself, are you going to homestead, or are you planted? See, big trees, the big trees that we really love, those are generational, and those things are rooted. Doesn't that tell you something? I mean, again, like I said a while ago, a lot of people, they're still in the back of the truck. We live in such a mobile society, and I'm telling you, it's not healthy. We live in such a mobile society that people don't even know their neighbors. And you hear silly statements made like, well, I'm just a little looking around, or, I'm trying to keep my options open. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. I don't want to get too caught up, or I'm really busy. These are what we call legal detachments from responsibility, from being grounded, things that keep us from putting down roots. And it's so devastating. See, when you're planted, you take ownership. I own it, and it owns me. It's a decision. It's a connection. But when you embrace that, it empowers you. My job, my church, my family. I'm not looking for another. I can always tell by working in a church setting, it always bothers me when somebody comes in and says, yeah, you guys have a great church. And I'm just thinking, you're not planted, are you? You're unpredictable still. You've not made the commitment that you said, it's my church. That's when I can tell somebody that can be depended on in a church setting or a business setting or any setting. When somebody takes ownership, this is my church, this is my job, this is my family, and I'm not looking for another. See, you become part of the ground and you draw something from it. And this is the beauty, almost the magic of this thought, is the fact that you draw something from the ground and it sustains you. See, you're not going to draw anything from the ground until you grow roots into it. But when you begin to grow roots into the ground, what happens is you suddenly draw from the nutrients of the ground that sustains you, that empowers you, that enables you to grow. And that's the way God designed it. That's what happens when you become planted. It provides the juices that you need to take you from success to success. It's a momentum. And I'm telling you something, this is a missing element in so many people. They don't have that in their marriage. They don't have that in their job. Well, I was looking for a job when I found this one. Really? Let me just say, from a management standpoint, from a business owner standpoint, when that's your mindset, you're worthless. You are way overpaid when that's your mindset. But people, you've got to have that. It's a missing element in their marriage. And people so quickly, we fell out of love. What? Where in God's name did you ever think that is so childish? That is so immature. That is so unstable. I fell out of love. Who was it? Tina Turner singing that song, said, what's love got to do with it? Listen to me. You got in a family and you grew roots. And it's that root system that empowers you, that you draw, that empowers you to face hard times, whether it's your job, your community, whether it's your church. And a lot of people are there just basically long enough until they get uncomfortable, and then they just want to go someplace else. And they don't know what it means to face difficulties or face hardships. Therefore, the ground itself doesn't provide the life that they need to be a success. You're going to have to make the commitment. I don't care. Listen, I could even say, even if it's something like bodybuilding, you're going to go in, I'm going to start going to the gym. If you don't get planted there, and if you don't do it, and it's slow, incremental changes that take place. It doesn't take place like that. Changes in your body doesn't take place like that. Your marriage, your home, your job, any place. It comes through slow, incremental changes of you drawing from the ground and getting nutrients. See, and so the ground doesn't provide the life that's needed to sustain you. So when the storms come and the winds come, it'll do one of two things. If you don't have a root system, it'll uproot you, what roots you do have. But the winds and the storms will actually make the root system stronger. And so I was listening to a thing, a newscast, and they were talking about growing trees in space. And they said that the trees, they could grow wonderfully there, but said they quickly toppled or they quickly died. And they said the reason is because there is the element of the resistance of wind that made the thing strong enough to stand up. So you got to understand that the storm that comes against you actually will support and strengthen your root system if the root system is there. But you're not going to get the root system if you don't make the decision to be there. This is my job. I'm going to stay here. This is God's plan for me. I'm going to stay here until I know I'm supposed to do something else. We must commit something of ourselves to the ground. You can't half-heartedly do this, guys. You can't. If you half-heartedly do things, you're not going to be successful. You've got to get pregnant with this commitment, and you got to be determined, I'm going to carry this thing full term. You can't be sort of pregnant. I'm sorry, baby. You either are or you're not. Now, are you going to commit to that? Are you going to do it? See, being planted, and I want you to please hear right now. This is important, guys. Please listen to me. This is important right here. Being planted is the womb of your future. It's the womb of your life. It's the womb of your future. And that's where things are birthed. And people who just basically float from here to there and they never birth anything. But see, in this day and time, we have people who are not planted in their job and their family and their friends and their church. They can't be committed to anything. I mean, I'm stunned, to be honest with you, how many people attend until they don't like something. I'm just stunned at it. It's kind of like the Starbucks mentality, and people have that Starbucks mentality when they go to church. I want one shot of this, half shot of that, and I want it my way, and if I don't get it, well, I'm not going here. Really, I'm just thinking. And so, but when you're planted, it doesn't matter what comes your way. You last through the hardships. You last through the winters of life. You last through the storms. That's so important. And now, in regard to the house of the Lord, can I give you a scripture? This is from Psalms chapter 92. Let me just give this to you. Psalms 92:12. He said, "The righteous shall flourish like a palm tree." Excuse me. He said, he'll grow like the cedars in Lebanon. And then verse 13 said this. He said, those who are planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall still bear fruit in old age. They shall be fresh and flourishing. So flourishing in life comes from being planted. You gotta be planted. Make the decision. I am where I am. I'm not moving. I'm going to sow into this ground. I'm going to give the nourishment into this ground. I'm going to flourish because I'm drawing something from the ground. When I give myself to the ground provides something for me that sustains me and helps me grow. That's the design. And my family and I, we're here. It's kind of like our church. I just make this statement. I said, we're here to be a part of this. We're going to make this thing work. We're in this thing. I don't care. Well, somebody hurt my feelings. Please, just a little bit of wind. Good gracious. If I'm not stronger than that, then I'm going to topple anyway. It won't take long. I say, this is my church. This is where I belong. This is where my roots are. This is where I'm planted. And I'm telling you, if you will embrace this principle and allow yourself to be planted, being planted with your family, with your job, with your community, with your church, whatever the case is, then I promise if you will make the decision, and that's where it starts with a decision. I'm planted and I'm not budging. I'm staying in this thing and it's going to produce. And now it may not produce a huge harvest this year, but I'm looking down the road, because if I keep taking care of this ground in the next 3, 4, 5 years, it's going to produce a huge harvest that not only will take care of me, but it'll take care of my children, my grandchildren. That's the same with savings. You can't always judge it just basically like that. But if you will just continue to sow into it, just be consistent with it, over a lifetime, it will produce more than you can contain. That's God's plan for you. Will you make the decision today to be planted? Because I'm just telling you, if I can stay up here all day long and talk about leadership and talk about success in life. That's the motto of what I give you. But the bottom line is if you're not planted, baby, it won't last. It may last for a little while. It may look good for a season. But if you want something that's long term, you get planted. Make the decision. So that's what I got for you today. You want more information? You can go to me on my podcast. My website is jerryedmond.com. See if I can remember all of this now. jerryedmond.com. Come and see me. I've got podcasts. I've got a lot of things going that I would love to just offer to you, just simply to be a blessing, because I'm telling you, my goal for you is to be successful in life. Okay? So come on now. Let's go for it.